In the meadow there will be a snowman who will pretend that he is Parson Brown. He'll say, "Are you married?" and I'll say, "No, man, but you can do the job when you're in town." Or something. It is that time of the year, and I thought that we would do this year is start off here in my glorious Mandalorian Christmas sweater talking about the goat pens for 2020. Now, I know that the lighting isn't great here, so please bear with me. What's a goat pen? This is a series of videos I started a couple of years ago. It's the greatest of all time pens. Now, that started off as actual greatest of all times, pens that in my mind are the greatest of all time pens, but that has evolved a bit over the years. That's the charm, you see, of doing YouTube videos, that your channel evolves. So now in my mind, goat is no longer really goat, but it's my personal favorite pens of the year. And that means that GOAT, greatest of all time, is actually a bit of a misnomer, but I've gone down that path now, and now forever will it dominate my destiny. So, here's what I thought we would do. A lot of people anticipate this particular video, so I thought what I would do is this. Here, in this spot, I will talk you through my specific choices for the year. I'll show you to them briefly, but I know you're not going to be able to see much detail. Then we'll switch to a writing sample where I will also show you the pen, just twirl it around a little bit. I don't want this to be a 4-hour video either, but just to show you the pen a bit more up close, camera down, better lighting, etc. So, what I thought we would do right now is talk about my choice for these pens. You see, I have done things a little bit differently this year by not necessarily picking the pens that I think are the absolute greatest, fanciest, etc., but by picking those pens that I have simply used the most this year. Now, some I've only had for a couple of weeks, some I've had for years, but I have found myself reaching for these pens all the time, and I thought that would be an interesting qualifier to make them greatest of all times 2020 #boom pens. And given for our posterity that we have spent a lot of this year battling a pandemic, and many of us have spent a lot of time indoors, I've been using quite a lot of pens. So, without further ado, let's get started on my 10 pens. Ho, ho, ho. Number one, again, better close-up, better lighting, later, alright? Visconti Opera Master Tobacco, pen I've had for a couple of years. You may know the story because I think it's pretty well known at this point, but in case you didn't, I've been looking for this pen for years. At some point Aziza found it, and I absolutely love this pen. I have had the nib tune by Mike Masayama, the Nibmeister. It isn't, I was going to say beautiful, I meant it is an excellent pen in my mind. It writes superbly, and I still believe this is an absolutely gorgeous finish. So when you see the close-up later, you'll see that has a nice 18 karat broad nib. It's an absolute joy to use. So I've been using this pen a lot, and now these days it exclusively has S.B.R.E. brown ink in it. The second pen was a gift from John a number of years ago. This is the Yardeled Viceroy Grand in the Victorian finish. It's an absolutely beautiful pen, solid sterling silver, 18 karat broad gold nib. That's just an absolute joy to use. I love this pen so much. I love using it. I love the feel. I love the looks. It's a classic design, in my mind, a timeless design. You'll see that better in the close-up. And it has a magnificent nib that I absolutely love using. So this pen has been inked up quite a lot. Then we have the Leonardo Messenger. This was a gift from Joost Appelboom for it's number 36, so he gave it to me for my 35th birthday, 36th year of life, etc. The Messengers had just come out around that time, if I remember correctly, and I think they're very nice pens. They're a little different from the other Leonardo models, but not necessarily in a bad way. I kind of like it. It's a nice everyday writer, and don't take this the wrong way, but I think this is a nice pen if you want to use something that is not too ostentatious looking. Just saying. The fourth pen I have picked out of 10 because I want to keep this a little manageable. 10 pens, this is 4 out of 10, is the Konid bulk filler king size, not the flat top but the round top. I really love it. I happen to have this pen inked up with Irish green, Mont Blanc Irish green. That's my favorite combination of pen and ink. That's my favorite ink for this pen. I think this is just a superb pen. It's a nice size, it's big without being too huge, it's comfortable to many people, I have found. It has a stellar 14 karat fine nib that was a gift from my dear friend Kyle. That is very, very nice because as soon as I put that on, I stopped using the double broad nib that came with the pen. So that is very nice. I love using it. It's a great everyday writing pen. It also has a huge capacity in ink, so once you ink it up, you can use this for a very long time, and it's just such a pleasant writer, very good for everyday use. I've really, really enjoyed using it, and I have it inked up a lot of the time. Number 5 is the Cross Peerless Darth Vader. This was also a gift from Joost, provided that I would do the review in the Darth Vader costume, which, by the way, he also provided. You should absolutely check that out because it was a lot of fun to do. This pen is superb, that's all I can say about it. It is a cross pen but with a sailor-made nib. In a way, I kind of wish it was a stealth nib with just a black coating on it, but what I will say is it's a medium nib. I actually think I described it as a fine in the review, which is incorrect, but of course it is a Japanese medium, writes kind of like a Western fine. That's probably how I got confused. It was just silly. A lot of eye for detail. I mean, check out the review. I know this lighting isn't great, but there's a lot of Darth Vader detail on it, and although I think that is fun in its own regard, to be honest, I think this is just a superb writer. It's such a fun writer, and I always have Aurora Black in that. Pen number 6 out of 10 is this interesting model, which is not so easy to obtain, and that made me think about whether or not I should put it on the list or not. But I decided to do that anyway, because I have really, really enjoyed using this pen. This is a Titan Pens model that I have dubbed the 720, but I don't think that's its official name. So Titan Pens is owned by my friend William Shakur, who 3D prints pens, and you can find him on Instagram, for example, William Shakur. And this is a model. He asked me if I had any specific things in mind, because I have another model of his, a green model, faceted model. And I said, well, actually, he was repairing at the time for me my Omar 360 Magnum. And I said, well, actually, how about printing something like that? I don't know if it's possible, but it would be cool. And he came up with this triangular pen. Again, I'll show it off better later, which is large. This is a large pen with a number 8 nib. Very big pen, piston filler, has an ink window, which the 360 Magnum does not have. So I think that's an improvement. Number 8 nib, which is really cool, titanium broad. I love this pen. I find it's very big. It's not for everyone, but I find it very comfortable. I don't think, but that's me, I don't think it was William's idea to produce these on a large scale, but I don't want to send 5,000 emails his way, but I don't know. I'm not involved. I don't get a cut or something. It's his pens. He just made that for me, and I love it. Speaking of pens made for me, number 7 is this. This is a Ranga Model 5 made by Michal. One day I'm going to be able to pronounce that name properly. Of Tamanuri Studio. You won't be able to see that in this light for sure. But this is an Urushi covered pen made by Ranga in India. And Michal was in Michal. I'm not trying to make fun of it. I really do my best to pronounce his name correctly. I don't seem to be able to do it, which frustrates me to no small degree. Anyway, a large pen, and Michal did the a rushi on it, which I think he did very, very nicely. It's cartridge converter pen, but it's a huge pen, and it's a lot of fun to use with a box steel double broad nib that actually writes very nicely. I really like using it, and you can see the camera light reflected in it, so that's just useless but fun. Again, that's a big pen, but very, very comfortable, very nice to use. Number 8 is this pen, which is, I think probably, yes, most likely the most affordable on the list, but it's a lot of fun. This is an Opus 88 Omar. I had another Omar, but this one I really like because it is translucent. It's not completely clear and transparent, but it is translucent. It's a lot of fun to use. Steel broad nib, comfortable pen, large ink capacity with a one-way shut-off valve. That's a nice filling system that you see on quite a lot of Japanese pens, but Opus 88 in Taiwan also uses it. Works quite well, is fun, large capacity, and just really nice. So there is that. Then number 9 of 10 is this pen that came to me a couple of weeks ago, number of weeks ago, because I've already reviewed it. The much anticipated Leonardo Furore Grande in the very, very attractive Smeraldo finish, I'm sorry, which I love. Again, you can't see properly in this light. It's an actual piston filler. It has, in my case, a 14 karat broad nib, which is a lot of fun to use with an ebonite feed. I loved the Furore, but the Furore Grande is bigger, and I like bigger pens, so for me this is a very comfortable pen, and it's a very attractive material, which you will see better later. And then finally, number 10 of 10 is a pen that I've waited for a long time, to be precise, well over, I think, a year, 1 3/4 of a year or something. But then it is handmade by Paul Rossi in Southern California, and this is my Classic Pens LB6, and that's pretty much it. It's a beautiful pen, sterling silver trims, it's hand cut, the facets are hand cut. It has a beautiful number 8 nib that is a medium, but that writes like a fine. But it's a lot of fun to use, I have to say that. So I love this pen, it's beautiful. I really, since I've had it, it's been inked up. And I got it, it's now, I am recording this in December 2020. I've had this since summer, and it's not been uninked for a day. So clearly I like that one. So here we have my 10 pens. Now, let's address a few things. Does it mean that I no longer like the Emperor? No, I still like the Emperor. Does it mean that Montblanc and Pelikan are not great pens? No, I just don't have any in my collection. They don't do much for me. That's a personal choice, and therefore they're also not in my GOAT list. How can it be GOAT list if there is no Montblanc or Pelikan? Well, it is my personal greatest of all time pens. So it's a personal list, right? And my list is not your list. That's kind of the charm of doing this. If my list was everyone else's list, this would be a very boring video. Anything else to address here? I think that kind of covers it. Why don't we see how the pens write, and I'll show you a bit better of a close-up under proper lighting. Let's do that. Okay, so here we go with these 10 pens. I have tried to make the lighting as good as I could make it. Definitely better than what it was just now. So here we go. This is the Visconti Opera Master in the tobacco finish. The ink is SbRe brown, which I personally find shines particularly nicely in this pen. Very smooth 18 karat. Broad nib. I got a little distracted there. Sorry. Oops, lazy dog. What's the paper? The paper is Rhodia, as it states there. Then we have the Yard of Lead. Viceroy Grand Victorian. The ink is, I don't really want to, okay. The ink is Leonardo Blue, which I have grown very fond of in the past weeks. Very nice blue, I find. An overall lovely wet writer. Oh. This is my rapid deployment cloth. This is a leather folio, and this is always in there if I have to quickly wipe something down. It est ink spillage. Okay, what else do we have? We have the next in line, which is the Leonardo Messenger. This is Lamy Mango. Sorry, took me 1 second. I knew it was a tropical fruit. Is that a tropical fruit? What we call that tropical? Anyway, you get the point. This is also a broad nib, but this is a steel nib. This was a broad 18K. That is a broad 18K. I have reviewed all these pens, so if you want more information, I would recommend you to look up the review. These videos are usually on the longer side. I don't want to make them too long, but I already noticed I forgot something, right? So here we have this pen up close. Very nice writer. Little nib has a little bit of feedback. I haven't shown you this up close, have I? So the beautiful work, hand hammered in the UK. Very, very pretty pen. I absolutely love it. Sorry, I'll try to remember to show you the close-ups. What else? Well, then we have the Conid King Size bulk filler. This is Mont Blanc Irish Green. Very nice pen, I find this. Just the design, I like the titanium metal parts, number 8 nib, which is a lot of fun. It can be posted and it writes comfortably. It writes comfortably, it really does. Comfortably posted, and it's just, this is a very pleasant 14K fine nib. And for some reason, I don't know why, I find the combination of this particular pen, the nib almost is a little bit of an architect, which is odd, but very nice combination. I like the pen and the green, the dark green ink, and I think Irish green is a fantastic ink to begin with, so to me it's a great combo. Now we have the Darth Vader, the cross peerless Darth Vader, a lot of eye for detail, so I don't know how well you can see it, it's always difficult in the reflection, but Darth Vader's helmet is in here. We have the red Swarovski crystal for his lightsaber. This I think was from his boots or something. There is of course the panel he has on his chest. This is from his armor, I want to say. So there's all this detail. All of this is listed in the review, but I think it's just that in itself is very nice. But then added to that is just the pen. Oh, peerless? Peerless. Sorry about that. Darth Vader, this is Aurora Black, which is considered to be one of the ultimate blacks by many people because it is such an intense black ink. This is a medium 18 karat nib. but I would say this definitely writes like a Western fine. Very pleasant writer. This is a very good business pen in my mind, because it's not too ostentatious and it has a finer nib which is pleasant to write with. I find in meetings and such, we don't necessarily want something super wet and broad. It's not always convenient. Here we have this pen, the Titan pen, three-dimensional, 3D printed triangular. Obviously it's three-dimensional. It would be hard to write with otherwise. The ink window is, I think, quite nice. You can't really see that right now because there's an ink in it, but there's an ink window. I don't know how well the camera picks it up. It looks like it's a black material, but it actually has a purple sheen to it. And if you hold it up to the light, which again for you, the light source is coming from the wrong side here, but if you shine light through it, it has a very deep purple glow. It's not really, no, I wouldn't call this transparent, not even translucent, but at specific parts you see this sort of purple sheen. It's just, to me, it's a lot of fun. The triangular profile, I think, is really well done. The section is a bit more rounded than the 360 section that it's loosely based on, that does have the number 8 nib. I think it's a lot of fun. So again, I have labeled this the Titan 720, but that's just my name for this particular pen. Oh, the ink here is Edelstein Star Ruby, which is an ink that I love. And I saw when I was inking this up, not the most user-friendly bottles. They're very pretty, not the most user-friendly for a big nib. I could already hardly fill it up. I'm actually going through a bottle of that ink, which I always think is a good sign. That means you really like it. And being a flex nib, being a titanium nib, it's not beautiful writing, but there's definitely line variation to be had, which is kind of fun with this pen too. It gives it an added dimension in my mind of fun. Here's a very odd choice of ink for this pen, but usually I have sbrebrown in it, but I already had that in this pen. And if I put that in another pen, the people are going to be, oh, he only uses his own ink. Oh, it's just uncommercial now. Okay, so this is another ink. Here we have the Tamanuri Studio. So this is a Rangam Model 5, so that's what I'll call it. It does have the Urushi on it, which again is hard to show off because sometimes it looks like, I'm looking at my LCD screen, it looks like a black pen, but in reality it has a very, very deep green color, which is just hard to capture in the light. You can see it in some areas, like here you can see there's a bit of green, but in proper lighting, but not through a camera lens, your eye really picks this up as a very deep green, which I think is very, very nice. Now again, this is a larger pen, it's really quite big, but I find it very comfortable. The ink here is Iro Shizuku, a very odd choice in my mind, simply because I never have that in this pen. Sorry about the horrid handwriting, but I was just trying to fit that in there. And actually I kind of like it. Sorry, this is a double broad steel nib. That's actually not a bad combination. Yeah, double broad steel, writes like a good broad, I would say. It's not the broadest of broads I've ever seen. I am going to tear this out. Oh, yes. Sort of let this dry. I'm going to turn it around so that I can write on the other side. In the meanwhile, I'll show you this pen as that final bit of ink dries. Here we have the Opus 88, the Omar. Yes, you now have preferred customer status. Sorry. Deus Ex 2? No? Okay. Back in the day when I gamed, I played that game. Anyway, so what do we have? There's a couple of things I really like about this pen. The one-way shutter valve, I didn't put in too much ink so you can see it a little bit. big ink capacity because you unscrew the section and then you eyedropper fill this, so you can really fill the entire barrel, which is a substantial barrel. I mean, look at my little finger, then look at this barrel. That's a lot of barrel. So it can hold a lot of ink, which also sloshes around nicely in the clear model, right? There are colored there are colored versions. Sorry, I'm just reaching for a tissue here. There are colored versions of this pen, but I really like the clear version best. I think it is really, really neat. So I think I have done my job. This is now dry. Yeah, in it. There's a bit of windy coming out, sorry. So I love it. Number 6, broad steel nib, nothing fancy, but it's a lot of fun to use. So here we have, am I going to make this? Yeah, I'm going to make this fit. Here we have the Opus 88 Omar. This is a broad steel nib, and this is Waterman Tender Purple, which I think is a very nice purple. I really like it. It's a really pleasant, smooth writer. It's also a rigid nib, so don't expect anything in ways of springiness. But if you're okay with that, it's a very comfortable writer, writes very smoothly, writes very nicely, and I think this is a pretty sweet combination. I like turquoises, look very good in clear pens, but I like the purple. I like it. Okay, well, we're almost there, people. So here we have this pen, the Leonardo Furore Grande. Yes, I have finally managed to learn that it's not Furore but Furore, and so far I've been able to say it properly, so let's see if I can keep that up. Here we have this is Konpeki, I realize. Oh, he's making end commercial for Konpeki. No, don't worry about it. Furore Grande. Yeah. This is a 14 karat broad nib, and the ink is once again Konpeki. What can I say? I like Konpeki. It's an ink. Let me show you the pen up close. And what was the trick again? How do I do it? This? Oh, no, there was a way. Oh, there we go. To make this line up. Then Leonardo Officina Italiana number 54 lines up with the clip. Look at that chatoyance. Look at it. Look at it! Isn't it pretty? I'm sorry. But I'm so sorry. I really find this exceptional. It's a beautiful pen. It's one of my favorite materials. And now that we have this on the bigger Grande model, I just love it. I think it's a really, really nice pen to begin with. I like that on the new Grandes we have this sort of beveled edge. No, beveled. Oh no, I'm thinking knives. No, this beveled cap lip here, which tapers, which I think looks very attractive. Now let's look at the writing. This broad nib is a little bit stub-like, which some people love and some people hate. It's all okay. That's really bad writing. Forgive me. But it's fun. I was trying to really align it so that you would get the maximum line variation, because as I said, it is a bit stubby, as you can say, as you can see. But I can and do say, in fact, it is a bit stubby. And then finally we have the classic pens, actually Lambrou pens, LB6 in the flame red material. This is the Passion, named after virtues. It has sterling silver trims, and it has an 18 karat Bock number 8 nib with an ebonite feed. And I haven't written with this in days, and I realized I didn't prime this, so let's see what it does. Boom! This is another nib that was tuned by Mike Masayama. Same as with the Visconti Opera Master we started out with. This was the Passion. And I only put one ink in here. This is Mont Blanc Corn Poppy Red, which I think is a very nice match for the pen. Note in particular the facets that really capture the light and that show off the material just beautifully. One of my favorite pen materials. I know I just said that about the Leonardo, but this is another one of my favorite pen materials. It is a medium nib, 18K, but in my mind this really writes like a fine nib. There's nothing wrong with that. And now that the O-sensei Mike Masayama has looked at it, it's a very pleasant, reliable writer that I absolutely love using. So I'll make sure there is a picture of all the pens in the post on the website, as well as a close-up of the writing sample. And that's pretty much it. I wish you a very good end of 2020. I have to be honest, I'm ready for 2020 to end at this point. I'm sure that I'm not the only one. Hang in there. Let's all hope and pray to Saint Nibius that 2021 is a better year. Hang in there, stay strong, be careful, and I wish you, in advance, a very happy New Year. I hope to see you next year. Bye-bye.